The alarm screams filled every corner of the colony ship morning dawn. Captain Han ran through the shaking corridors, grabbing the walls to stay on his feet. Red lights flashed everywhere. People shouted. Children cried. This was not how their journey was supposed to end. "Captain, the reactor is dead," engineer yelled over the noise. Her face was covered in sweat and dirt. "I can't fix it. We're going down." Han felt his stomach drop. 3,000 people were on this ship. 3,000 souls who trusted him to bring them to a new home. Now they were falling from the sky onto a planet they knew nothing about. "Everyone to crash positions," he ordered through the ship's speakers. "Hold on." The ship hit the ground hard. Metal screamed. Things broke. Then everything went quiet except for the groaning of the damaged ship and the sounds of people crying. They had survived the crash, but Han knew that was just the beginning of their problems. Doctor found the captain an hour later. The doctor's hands shook as he gave his report. "We have injured people everywhere. I need medicine. I need equipment. Most of my medical supplies are destroyed." Han nodded slowly. He had already seen the damage reports from other sections. The news was all bad. "How long can we survive?" "Maybe 2 weeks," said quietly. "Less if the life support completely fails. The air recyclers are barely working." Engineer had worse news. "The planet outside is not good for us. The air has too much carbon dioxide. We can't breathe it, and it's cold, very cold. Without power, we'll freeze." They sent distress signals into space, every day, every hour, but the nearest human colony was months away, too far. They would all be dead long before help could arrive. On the 5th day, people started getting sick. The cold was creeping into the ship. Food was running low. Some people talked about going outside to look for anything useful, but outside meant death. The air would kill them in minutes. Han stood in the main hall and looked at the faces around him. Families holding each other. Old people trying to be brave. Young children who didn't understand why everything was wrong. He had no good words to give them. No hope to share. "We're going to die here," someone said. Nobody argued. On the 7th day, something appeared in the sky. Saw it first on the broken sensors. "Captain, there's a ship approaching, but it's not human." Everyone froze. Aliens. They had heard stories about aliens, but humans had met very few species. Some were friendly, some were not, and some just didn't care about humans at all. The alien ship was beautiful. It moved through the air without sound, like a bird made of silver light. It landed near the crashed colony ship, and a door opened. The creatures that came out were unlike anything the humans had seen. They had 4 arms, skin that seemed to glow with a soft blue color, and large eyes that looked gentle. They wore simple robes and moved slowly, carefully. Han went out to meet them, wearing the last working pressure suit. His heart beat fast. Were these aliens here to help, or to take advantage of desperate humans? One of the aliens stepped forward. When it spoke, a device on its robe translated the words. We heard your signal. You are in danger." "Yes," Han said. His voice was rough. "We're dying. We need help, but we have nothing to trade, nothing to give you." There was quiet for a moment. Then it said something that Han would never forget. "Life is precious. You don't need to give us anything." More came. They brought machines that cleaned the air, power cores that brought heat and light back to the ship, medical equipment that Doctor had only seen in pictures, food synthesizers that could feed everyone. "Why are you doing this?" Han asked the who seemed to be their leader. The translator said his name was Hen. "Because you need help," Hen said simply, "and because we can give it. Is that not enough reason?" They worked for 3 days. They asked for nothing. They took nothing. When the humans tried to thank them, to offer them anything, Hen just shook his head. "We do not need thanks. We are happy you will live." Doctor couldn't believe it. "I've never seen technology like this. It's incredible. You could save so many people if you shared it." "We are a quiet people," Hen explained. We stay in our home system, we don't travel much, we don't talk much to other species, but when we saw you were dying, we could not look away. Will you stay? Asked. Will you help us build our colony? No, Hen said gently. We have given you the tools to survive. The rest must be your journey. We will return to our home now. Before they left, Hen grabbed Hen's lower right arm. We will never forget this, I promise you. Humanity remembers its debts. Someday, somehow, we will repay this kindness. Hen looked surprised. There is no debt, this was a gift. For you, maybe, Hen said. His eyes were wet with tears. But for us, this is a sacred promise. You saved 3,000 lives, we will remember, we will repay. The ships left as silently as they had come. The humans watched them disappear into the sky. That night, Han made a recording. He stood in front of the camera with and beside him. Today we were saved by strangers who asked for nothing. They gave us our lives back. I don't know if they understand what this means to us, but I make this promise here and now to be witnessed by everyone on this ship. Humanity will repay this debt. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we will repay it. This I swear. The recording was and sent to every human world. The story spread. Everyone heard about thee and their gift. And humanity began to remember. 50 years passed like water through fingers. The colony on Prime grew strong. The children who had been saved became parents. Those parents had children of their own, but nobody forgot the. Every year on the anniversary of that day, the colonists stopped their work. They gathered in the main square where a statue stood. The statue showed a human and a reaching toward each other. Everyone wore blue, the color of skin. They told the story again to the young ones. They remembered. Admiral Park Sung stood at the ceremony wearing his dress uniform. He was Han's grandson. The old captain had died 5 years ago, but his last words were about the promise. Don't forget, he had whispered. We must repay them. Park Sung had not forgotten. Nobody had. After the ceremony, Park Sung returned to his ship in orbit. He had work to do. Important work that might finally let humanity keep its promise. Professor Lee Na was waiting for him in his office. She was thin and serious, with eyes that missed nothing. For 20 years she had studied the. She knew more about them than any other human. Tell me, Park Sung said. Lee Na put her data pad on the desk. Her hands were shaking. Admiral, it's bad, very bad. She showed him the star charts, the home system, their sun. The star is dying, she said quietly. Not in millions of years like it should. Something is wrong with it. It's becoming unstable. In maybe 50 years, maybe less, it will expand and burn their planet. Park Sung felt cold. Do they know? Yes, we picked up their communications. They know, but they're not doing anything about it. What do you mean, not doing anything? Lee Na pulled up more data. They don't have faster-than-light travel like we do. They have advanced technology in many areas, but not that. They can't evacuate their whole planet. They can't leave their system fast enough to save everyone. Then they need to build the ships. We can send them our designs. We tried, Lee Na said. She looked sad. We've been trying to contact them for 50 years. They respond politely, but they refuse our offers. They say they want to remain separate. They don't want our technology. They don't want our help. Park Sung hit his desk with his fist. Their son is dying. They'll all die. They know. They've accepted it. Their philosophy is different from ours. They believe everything has its time to end. They plan to face their end with peace and grace. Director Wu joined them an hour later. He was the head of the Human Diplomatic Corps, and he had been trying to talk to them for years. They're very polite, Wu said. They thank us for our concern, but they ask us to respect their wishes and leave them alone. They say they are content. Content to die, Park Sung couldn't believe it. All of them, their whole species. It's their choice, Wu said, but he didn't sound happy about it. We can't force them to accept help. Lee Na looked at both of them. There's something else. The Galactic Council has been watching us. They know we're interested in the situation. They've warned us not to interfere. The Galactic Council was a group of old, powerful alien species. They made rules that everyone was supposed to follow. Humans were new members, still proving themselves. Why would they care? Park Sung asked. Because they want to be left alone. The Council says we must respect that. They say if we interfere, it could damage our standing in the galactic community. Other species might stop trusting us. Park Sung was quiet for a long time. He thought about his grandfather, about the promise, about 3,000 people who would have died if they had respected their wish to be left alone. What would my grandfather do? He asked out loud. Lena smiled a little. I think we both know the answer to that. The council will be angry, Wu warned. Let them be angry, Park Sung stood up. They didn't ask us if we wanted to be saved. They saw people in danger and they helped. That's what we'll do. That's what humans do. We could lose our council seat, Wu said. Then we lose it, but we won't lose our honor. Park Sung called a meeting with the leaders of every major human world. He showed them the data. He told them the situation, and he reminded them of the promise. They saved us when we had nothing to give, he said. Now they're dying and they think they have no choice, but they do have a choice. They have us. What can we do? Someone asked. We can't force them to evacuate. No, Park Sung agreed. But we can give them a reason to stay. We can save their world. The room went silent. Then someone laughed. Save their world, their whole planet from a dying star? That's impossible. Humans don't believe in impossible, Park Sung said. We believe in remembering. We believe in keeping promises. The vote wasn't unanimous. Many people thought it was too expensive, too risky, too crazy. Some said they had made their choice and humans should respect it. Others said they should focus on human problems, not alien ones. But in the end, enough people remembered. Enough people believed in the promise. The project was approved. Director Wu sent one final message to them before they began. You gave us tomorrow when we had none. Now we will give you forever whether you ask for it or not. You taught us that life is precious. We learned that lesson well. The response came a week later. It was from someone old, someone who sounded tired. You don't understand. We are ready to end. This is our path. Park Sung read the message and smiled sadly. No, friends, you don't understand. You didn't ask if we were ready to die either. You saved us anyway. Now it's our turn to not listen. The message was never sent. Instead, Park Sung began gathering every engineer, every scientist, every resource humanity could spare. They were going to move a planet. The Galactic Council sent warnings, threats, demands. Park Sung ignored all of them. He thought about his grandfather's promise. He thought about 3,000 people who lived because strangers cared. Some debts must be repaid, he said, no matter the cost. And humanity began the greatest engineering project in their history, not for profit, not for power, not for glory. For gratitude. Professor Lee Na stood beside the admiral as they looked at the construction plans. Ships, engines, technology that didn't quite exist yet but would have to be invented. This will take years, she said. Maybe decades. It might bankrupt us, and they still don't want our help. Park Sung nodded. I know, but my grandfather taught me something. He said the measure of a people isn't what they do when it's easy. It's what they do when it's hard, when it costs them, when nobody is asking them to do it. He would be proud of you, Lee Na said quietly. He would be proud of all of us, Park Sung corrected. Every human who remembers, every human who knows that kindness must be answered with kindness, even if it takes 50 years, even if it takes everything we have. The work began, and humanity remembered. The construction yards above Earth hummed with constant activity. Day and night meant nothing in space. Work never stopped. Thousands of ships moved in carefully planned patterns, carrying materials, workers, and hope. Chief Engineer Shin stood on the observation deck of the main construction station, watching the organized chaos below. She had not slept properly in 3 days. There was too much to do, too much that could go wrong. "Boss, the test results are back from the gravity engine prototype," her assistant said. He looked nervous. Shin turned, "Show me." The numbers on the data pad made her close her eyes. Another failure, the 8th one this year. What went wrong this time? The field collapsed after 15 seconds. Same problem as before. We can generate the gravity well, but we can't maintain it for more than a few seconds. And to move a planet, we need to maintain it for months. Shin wanted to scream. Instead, she took a deep breath. "Get me Dr. Bay, tell him we need a new approach." She looked back at the construction below. 50 massive frames floated in space, each one the skeleton of what would become a stellar engine. Engines designed to push against a planet's gravity and move it through space. Technology that shouldn't be possible. Technology they had to make possible anyway. The project had been running for 5 years now. 5 years of constant work, constant problems, constant setbacks. Some days, Shin wondered if they were all crazy. Captain Saul met her in the conference room an hour later. He commanded the construction fleet, coordinating the thousands of workers spread across 12 star systems. He looked as tired as she felt. "We're behind schedule," he said without greeting. "The resource shipments from the outer colonies are delayed again. Something about pirates." "Pirates?" Shin rubbed her face. "We're trying to move a planet and we have to worry about pirates." "The colonies are struggling," Saul said quietly. "We've pulled so much of their economy for this project. Food prices are up. Transportation is limited. People are starting to ask if it's worth it." "And what do you tell them?" "I tell them about the promise. But that was 50 years ago. Most people alive today weren't there. They don't remember." Shin understood. She hadn't been there either. She was born long after the Save the Colony. But her grandmother had been on that ship. Her grandmother had told her the story when she was little. "Never forget," her grandmother had said. "Never forget what they did for us." Dr. Bay arrived with more bad news. He was the lead physicist, the genius behind the gravity manipulation theory. He looked worried. "I've run the numbers again," he said. "Even if we solve the stability problem with the engines, we have another issue. Moving a planet will create massive gravitational distortions in their star system. It could destroy their moons. It could destabilize the orbits of other planets." "Can we prevent that?" Shin asked. "Maybe, if we add dampening fields, but that means more engines, more power, more time." "How much more time?" 5 years, maybe 10. Saul swore. "We don't have 10 years. Their sun is already showing signs of expansion. We need to move them in 5 years maximum." They argued for hours. Numbers flew across screens. Simulations ran and crashed. Solutions were proposed and rejected. Finally, Shin held up her hand. "Enough, we're not giving up. We're not slowing down. We find a way or we make a way. That's what humans do." A young worker spoke up from the back of the room. "Chief Engineer, may I ask a question?" "Go ahead." "Why are we doing this? I mean, I know the story, but they don't want our help. They've said that many times, and it's costing us so much. Colonies are suffering. Our economy is struggling. For aliens who don't even want to be saved." The room went silent. Everyone looked at Shin. She walked to the window and looked out at the construction. At the thousands of workers building something impossible. At the massive frames that would become engines. At humanity's stubbornness made physical. "Do you know what the other alien species say about us?" she asked. "They say humans are crazy. They say we're emotional and irrational. They say we waste resources on impossible dreams." She turned to face the room. "And you know what? They're right. We are crazy. We do impossible things. We spend everything we have on dreams that make no sense." She pointed at the construction. "The saved 3,000 people. Not because it made economic sense, not because they would get something back. They did it because life is precious. That's what they taught us. Now they're dying and they've accepted it. Their philosophy says that's okay, that everything ends, but humans don't accept that. We looked at the stars and said we'd go there. Everyone said that was impossible. We did it anyway. We looked at death and disease and said no. Everyone said we couldn't beat them. We're still fighting. So when we see people who saved us accepting their own death, what do? We say no. We say not on our watch. We say we will move heaven and earth to save you, even if you don't ask, even if it costs everything, even if it takes 50 years or 100 years. She looked at the young worker. We do this because of who we are, because humans always repay kindness, and because we're too stubborn to accept impossible. The room was quiet. Then someone started clapping, others joined. Soon everyone was standing, applauding. Shin felt tears in her eyes. Now get back to work, we have a planet to move. The breakthrough came 3 months later. Dr. Bay burst into Shin's office at 3 in the morning. I've got it, the stability problem. I know how to fix it. He showed her the equations. The solution was elegant and simple once you saw it. Instead of one massive gravity well, they would use multiple smaller fields that reinforced each other, like threads woven together, stronger than any single thread. It will work, Bay said, his eyes shining. It will actually work. Testing took another year, small scale, then larger. They moved asteroids first, then a small moon. Each success brought them closer. When they finally moved a moon the size of Earth's moon across an entire star system, the whole project team celebrated. They had done it. The technology worked. Captain Saul found Shin at the celebration party. She was standing alone, looking out at space. You should be happy, he said. We did it. We actually figured out how to move a planet. I am happy, Shin said. But I'm also thinking about what comes next. Building the engines, moving them to the system, actually doing this thing we've been planning. That's when the real work begins. Do you think they'll be angry when we show up uninvited? Shin smiled. Probably, but you know what someone told me once. They said they didn't ask if we wanted to be saved either. They just did it. It took another 10 years to build all 50 engines. 10 years of constant work. Colonies struggled but held on. The economy suffered but survived, and humanity kept building. When the last engine was completed, Shin stood before it. It was massive, a structure of metal and energy that dwarfed anything humans had built before, beautiful and terrible in its power. With this, she said to her team, we can move worlds. Why did you really do this? Someone asked her. The real reason, not the speeches. Shin thought about it. Because 50 years ago, strangers saw us dying and decided to help. They didn't know us. They didn't owe us anything, but they helped anyway. And I thought, if we can't do the same, if we can't repay that kindness, then what are we? What's the point of all our technology and knowledge if we can't use it to save people? She looked at the engine. They gave us tomorrow, so we built this, to give them forever. The fleet prepared to depart, 50 engines. Thousands of ships, millions of hours of work, the biggest gamble humanity had ever taken. And not one person asked if it was worth it anymore. They all knew. Some debts could never be repaid, but that didn't mean you stopped trying. The sky was turning dark, not the darkness of night, but something worse. Their sun was changing, growing, becoming unstable. Elder Hen stood in his garden and watched the sky with ancient eyes. He was very old now, the oldest living. He had been young when he helped save those strange creatures called humans. That felt like yesterday and a lifetime ago at the same time. Elder, his assistant said softly, there are ships approaching, many ships, they are not our ships. Hen felt his 4 hearts beat faster. Who? The humans. Of course, the humans. They had been trying to contact them for decades, always offering help, always being politely refused. Hen had hoped they would finally accept this choice, but humans, he was learning, did not accept things easily. How many ships? Thousands and something else, something very large, 50 objects of massive size. Hen walked slowly to the communications center. His body was old, but his mind was still sharp. Around him, others moved with growing concern, an uninvited fleet in their space. This had never happened before. The communication came through. A human face appeared on the screen, a woman in a uniform with kind eyes and a determined expression. "My name is Ambassador Go," the human said. "We mean you no harm. We come with a gift, a debt to repay." "Ambassador," Hen said gently, "we have told your people many times. We do not wish for interference. We have accepted our path. Please return to your homes. Let us end with dignity." "With respect, Elder, we cannot do that." Another face appeared, a man in a military uniform. "I am Captain Han. My great-grandmother was saved by you, Elder Hen. She lived to have children because you helped. I exist because you cared." Han, the family name, made Hen remember. The young captain from the dying colony ship. He had promised something. What was it? "You promised to repay us," Go said, as if reading his thoughts. "You said you would remember. Well, humans remember, and now we're here to fulfill that promise." "There is no debt," Hen said. What he had done was simply right. Debts were for transactions. Helping people live was not a transaction. "Maybe for you," Captain Han said, "but for us this is everything. You saved us. Now it's our turn." The human ships moved into position around the planet. The 50 massive objects began to descend through the atmosphere. They were incredible machines, unlike anything they had ever seen. "What are you doing?" Hen demanded. Fear touched his voice now. "What are those machines?" "Stellar engines," Ambassador Go explained. "We're going to move your planet." Silence, complete silence in the communication center. Every stared at the screen. "Move you can't. That's impossible," someone whispered. "It was impossible," Go agreed. 15 years ago. But humans are good at impossible things, especially when we owe someone. "No," Hen felt panic rising. "You cannot do this. We have not asked for this. This is our world, our choice." Captain Han's face was gentle but firm. "You didn't ask us if we wanted to die either, Elder. You saw people in danger and you helped. That's all we're doing, helping." The engines deployed across the planet. Each one was a miracle of engineering, capable of generating gravitational fields strong enough to push against a world. They watched in shock as humans worked with practiced efficiency. Hen was brought to meet with the human leaders in person. He stood before them, this ancient being who had once saved their ancestors, and he felt angry and confused and touched all at once. "Why?" he asked simply. "We are at peace with our ending. Why can't you accept that?" Captain Hen stepped forward. He held out a small device. "My great-grandfather made a recording. Before he died, he made me promise to show you this if we ever found a way to repay you." He played it. The image showed a younger Han, standing in a damaged colony ship with his officers beside him. His voice was thick with emotion. "Today we were saved by strangers who asked for nothing. They gave us our lives back. I don't know if they understand what this means to us, but I make this promise here and now to be witnessed by everyone on this ship. Humanity will repay this debt. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we will repay it. This I swear." Hen felt something wet on his face. Didn't cry often, but tears came now. "The debt was not equal. We gave you supplies. You are giving us eternity." "It was never about equality," Hans said softly. "It was about remembering, about honoring what you did, about being the kind of people who don't forget kindness." Ambassador Go showed him the star charts. "We found a system 12 light years from here, a young, stable star. It will shine for billions of years. We're going to move your whole planet there. It will take 6 months, but when we're done, your world will be safe." 6 months, Hen looked at the charts. The distance was enormous. How? Very carefully, Go said with a small smile. And with a lot of math. Dr. Bay spent 10 years calculating the path, every gravitational disturbance, every possible problem. We've tested it. It will work. And if it doesn't, another asked, if something goes wrong, then we all die together, Captain Han said simply. Because we're not leaving. We're staying right here moving with you. If this fails, we share your fate. That's insane, they said. Yes, Han agreed. But you risked yourselves for us once. Seems only fair we do the same. The engines activated. The planet shuddered. Every felt it, a deep vibration through the ground. Their world was moving, actually moving. It was terrifying, it was impossible, it was happening. Hen stood in his garden night after night, watching the sky change. Their sun grew smaller behind them. New stars appeared ahead. The human ships surrounded their world like protective guardians. Ambassador Go visited him often during those 6 months. They talked about many things: philosophy, culture, the nature of kindness. Your people spent 15 years building those engines, Hen said. You bankrupted colonies, you struggled, all for us. We didn't ask for this. Why do you humans do things like this? Go thought for a moment. Because 50 years ago you showed us something important. You showed us that the right thing to do isn't always the logical thing. It's not always the profitable thing. Sometimes the right thing to do is just kind. You taught us that lesson. Now we're teaching it back to you. What lesson is that? That life is precious, Go said, echoing the words Hen had spoken so long ago, and that some things are worth any cost. When the journey was halfway complete, something went wrong. One of the engines began to fail. The gravitational field destabilized. The planet started to drift off course. Hen watched the humans scramble to fix it, saw them risk their lives to repair the engine, saw one human ship get caught in the field and get crushed. 30 humans died in seconds. Stop, Hen begged. Please stop, we're not worth this. We're not worth your lives. Captain Han's face was hard. You don't get to decide that. You decided our lives were worth saving. Now we've decided the same about you. We're finishing this. They repaired the engine. The journey continued, and they finally understood something about humans. Once they decided to help you, they didn't stop. They couldn't stop. It wasn't in their nature. On the final day, the new sun rose over the world. It was beautiful, warm, perfect. Their planet settled into its new orbit. The engines shut down. The journey was complete. Hen stood in his garden, looking up at a sun that would shine for billions of years. Around him, his people wept with joy and disbelief. You gave us forever, he whispered. Captain Hen stood beside him. You gave us tomorrow, we just returned the favor. How can we ever repay this? Han smiled. Remember us like we remembered you. And when you see someone else who needs help, help them. That's how kindness works. It doesn't end, it just keeps going. The human fleet prepared to leave. They gathered to watch them go. But something had changed. For the first time in centuries, they felt connected to something larger. Hen raised all 4 arms in salute. Thank you, for not listening, for not giving up, for being stubborn, impossible humans. You're welcome, Ambassador Go said. For everything, now and always you're welcome. The human ships departed, leaving behind a planet full of aliens who finally understood what humans had known all along. Some debts must be repaid, and some gifts change worlds forever. 20 years after the world was moved, Secretary General Yang Jin stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from 47 different species. Most of them looked angry. You violated their sovereignty, the ambassador said. His voice echoed through the chamber. You invaded their space. You performed massive engineering operations without permission. This is unacceptable. Yang Jin remained calm. She had expected this. The council had been complaining for 2 decades now. We saved their lives. They didn't ask to be saved. Neither did we, Yang Jin said quietly. But they saved us anyway, and we learned from them. Another ambassador spoke up, a floating creature from a water world. You set a dangerous precedent. Now every species thinks they can interfere with others. You've disrupted the order. Good, Yang Jin said. The chamber went silent. The old order said to let people die if they chose to die. The old order said respect boundaries more than lives. Maybe that order needed disrupting. Before anyone could respond, the doors opened. A delegation entered, blue-skinned, four-armed, moving with quiet grace. They had come. For the first time in their recorded history, they had left their system. For the first time, they were joining the galactic community. Elder Hen's successor, a named N, approached the council floor. He bowed respectfully. Honored council, N said, we come today to speak about what the humans did. The ambassador looked smug. Finally, tell them how they violated your wishes. They did violate our wishes, N agreed. The chamber buzzed with satisfaction. They ignored our requests. They refused to listen when we said no. They forced their help upon us. You see, they said to Yang Jin. And we are grateful for every moment of it, N continued. The chamber went silent again. We were wrong. We thought accepting our death was wisdom. But the humans showed us that fighting for life, even when it seems hopeless, is a greater wisdom. He turned to face the council. For centuries, we isolated ourselves. We didn't share our knowledge. We didn't help others. But the humans taught us something. They taught us that saving a life is not about what is asked or what is allowed. It's about what is right. N pulled out a data chip. This contains every piece of medical technology that have developed over 10,000 years. We are sharing it freely with the galaxy, because that's what the humans taught us. Knowledge that saves lives should be shared. The chamber erupted. Species that had been demanding that knowledge for centuries couldn't believe what they were hearing. Why now? Someone asked. Because we were saved, N said simply, and we want to save others. The humans showed us that this is possible, that it is necessary. Over the next month, something remarkable happened. The medical technology spread across the galaxy. Diseases that had killed billions were now curable. Injuries that meant death could be healed. Life expectancy doubled for dozens of species. But that wasn't all. 3 species came forward, each with a terrible problem. Their worlds were dying, different causes but the same result: extinction. Can anyone help us? They asked the council. The council debated. The old laws said each species must solve their own problems. Interference was forbidden. But then Secretary General Yang Jin stood up. Humanity can help. We have the technology, the engines, the knowledge. We've done it before. You would do this again? Someone asked. Save more worlds at what cost to yourselves? Yang Jin smiled. We're humans. Doing impossible things at terrible cost is what we do. Besides, we won't be doing it alone. And stood beside her. The will help. We have resources. We have knowledge. Together with humanity, we can save these worlds. And they did. Over the next 10 years, 3 more planets were moved. Not just by humans, but by a growing coalition of species who saw what was possible when you tried. The Galactic Council changed. The old laws about non-interference were modified. A new agreement was written. It was called the Kindness Accord. The rules were simple. If a species was facing extinction and couldn't save themselves, others would help. No payment required. No debt enforced. Just species helping species because life was precious. 47 species signed it in the first year. By the 5th year, every species in the known galaxy had signed. On Prime, now called Haven by everyone, a new monument was built. It stood in the center of the capital city, tall and beautiful. The monument showed many different hands joined together. Human, species from across the stars. At the base, words were carved in every known language. They gave when they didn't have to. We returned what we could never repay. Now we all give freely. Yang Jin attended the dedication ceremony. She was old now, ready to retire. Beside her stood En and representatives from dozens of worlds. "It's strange," En said. "One act of kindness 70 years ago, look what it became." "That's how it works," Yang Jin said. "Kindness is like light. One spark can light another. Those lights can light more. Eventually, the whole darkness is gone." A young human child ran up, followed by a young. They were playing some game, laughing together. They didn't care about politics or history. They just knew they were friends. "My great-great-grandfather was on that colony ship," Yang Jin said. "He was just a child when they saved him. He told me the story when I was young. He said they didn't just save their lives. They saved their hope. They showed that strangers could care." "And now strangers care everywhere," En said, watching the children play. "The galaxy is different because of it." An alarm sounded across the city, not an emergency but a signal. Yang Jin looked up. In the sky, visible even in daylight, ships were gathering. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species. They were preparing for another mission. Another dying world had been found. Another species facing extinction. "They're not waiting for permission," En observed. "No," Yang Jin agreed. "They saw what we did, what you did. Now they want to do it too. They want to be the ones who save someone." "Is that good? So many species spending so many resources to save others." Yang Jin thought about it. The old council would say no. They'd say species should focus on their own survival, conserve resources, stay safe. "And what do you say?" "I say we're building something better than safety. We're building a galaxy where people help each other, where no one faces extinction alone, where kindness isn't rare, it's expected." She looked at the monument, at the joined hands. "The saved 3,000 humans. We saved billions of, now together we're saving everyone we can. That's not wasteful. That's what we should have been doing all along." A reporter approached, asking for an interview. She wanted to know why humans started all this, why they spent so much to save aliens. Yang Jin smiled. "Because 70 years ago we were dying. We were lost and scared and ready to give up. Then strangers showed up and said life is precious. They taught us that helping people isn't about logic or profit or getting something back. It's just what you do when you can." "But it cost humanity so much," the reporter pressed. "Colonies suffered, the economy struggled. Was it worth it?" "Ask thee if it was worth it. Ask the 3 other species we saved. Ask the billions who are alive because of the medical technology they shared. Then ask me if it was worth it." The reporter was quiet. "Besides," Yang Jin added, "we got something back, something more valuable than money or resources." "What's that?" "We got to be the kind of people who keep promises, who remember kindness, who don't let good people die when we can save them. We got to be better than we were. You can't put a price on that." That night, a ceremony was held. The ships departing for the rescue mission were blessed by leaders from every major religion and philosophy in the galaxy. Human and alien stood side by side. Captain Han's grandson, Hanbo, commanded one of the ships. He was young, eager, and carried his family's tradition of keeping promises. Before departure, he visited the old recording, the one his great-great-great-grandfather had made. Han's voice still echoed across the decades. "Humanity will repay this debt. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we will repay it. This I swear." "We kept the promise, ancestor," Hanbo whispered, "and we started something bigger, something that will never end." Secretary General Yang Jin watched the ships leave. Beside her, En did the same. "Do you think they'll succeed?" En asked. "I think they'll try with everything they have," Yang Jin said. "And I think that's what matters. Not success or failure, but trying, caring, refusing to let others face death alone." "The humans changed the galaxy," En said softly. "No," Yang Jin corrected. "The changed the galaxy. You started it by saving us. We just kept it going. Now everyone's keeping it going. That's how it works. one act of kindness echoing forever. In the years that followed, the galaxy continued to change. More worlds were saved. More species joined the effort. The technology improved. The cooperation deepened. Humans and became the closest of allies. Their peoples mixed. Their cultures blended. Children grew up hearing both stories. The story of the who saved dying strangers, and the story of the humans who repaid that kindness by moving worlds. And when those children grew up, they told their own stories, stories of other rescues, other acts of kindness. The cycle continued. On Haven, the monument stood as a reminder. Children played around it. Adults paused to read the inscription. Visitors from distant worlds came to see where it all started. They gave when they didn't have to. We returned what we could never repay. Now we all give freely. Simple words, but they had reshaped the galaxy. Because 70 years ago, some aliens decided to save some humans, and those humans decided that kindness must be repaid. And in repaying it, they taught everyone that kindness wasn't a debt. It was a gift that should be given again and again and again. The universe didn't owe anyone anything, but that didn't mean you couldn't owe it everything. And humanity, stubborn and impossible as always, had decided to pay that debt, one saved world at a time. Forever,